of Mexico City's many business districts. Executive centers are all over the city, not just here. This is just one. And if I continue walking, I would be able to see one of my, a couple of the buildings I most want to see in this city, but that's taking me in the wrong direction and I have just limited time today. So I'm gonna go back to the other direction. However, let me grab my coffee here. An exciting time for me because even though this Lady Liberty, or I can't remember what it's called, gold at the top, angel, is being restored or renovated, cleaned. It's impressive anyway, but especially for me now because I haven't seen this for 45 years. I was here 45 years ago and I walked over there and stood under that angel, and I'm back. We're going to go this way just briefly, and I will take you along. I can't explain to you much because I don't know anything to tell you. Just look as you go. I'm doing the same thing. Now, I came from just down the way there ahead of us. I've already crossed over there, and I'm going to go back this side, partly because I'm actually going to stop a taxi here in a second and make this easy. I should have asked my friend how far it was to walk. I wouldn't mind doing that, but I have a feeling it's a bit far. I think I once was told Paseo de la Reforma is 20 miles long, and that was in 1975, so it's probably a bit longer now. Let's just go on around here. I won't bore you with a ton of stuff because there's nothing here yet to see. I'll just turn this off and catch up with you later. Isn't that beautiful? Look at the view. Mexican architecture is very daring. They don't want to do it like anybody else does it. You are here looking at the Torre Latinoamerica. For many years, that was the tallest building in Mexico City. You know, I think it's like, do I want to say 1947, or was it 47 stories? One or the other. I'm sorry, I don't know. I came unprepared today. Normally these kinds of trivial facts stick with me, but I cannot pick one out right now. I came down here from the other end of, well, the center part of Paseo de la Reforma. Got a taxi, and he was very nice to chat with me all the way. And I said, well, just let me out any place where close enough. The traffic was horrible. And would you believe it? Would you believe it? I get out, and I'm right here next to the Palacio de Bellas Artes. The Palace of Fine Arts is one of Mexico City's hottest spots for tourists. It's just a gorgeous building. It sits here all by itself. If you've been to Rio de Janeiro or you have friends from there, you'll kind of recognize some of that look. It's kind of a Beaux-Arts style. Now, as an energy-saving measure, my camera has gone black. I cannot see through the viewer anymore, so I'm just pointing. We'll do our best. I'm just going to guess. I was here in 1975. I saw a most amazing production of folkloric ballet. It was the Amalia Hernandez group, which is world famous. I have since seen her group twice, once in Chicago, once in Omaha. Of course, she's no longer with us. Her importance in folkloric ballet was that she realized this art form was dying away. The dance of regional peoples, the people in the mountains, the small towns, tribes, if you will, their dance, their music, their customs, their clothing was slowly being lost. And this was about 1952, as I recall, and I think she worked until around 1959. She had a group, and I think the government might have helped her. She had a group of videographers, journalists, recording devices were taken along, tape recording, and they managed to record immense amounts of original Mexican indigenous people, their history, their clothes, their music, and their dance forms. And if you remember, my friend Hector Moreno was a student of all of that when I met him in 2002, and that is his specialty. He does the same thing. Now, I would love to go in today. The reason people come here from around the world is to see the paintings of Diego Rivera, which are kind of scattered around inside. This building is considered Beaux-Arts, a little bit of Art Deco with some classical. It's just a mess of stuff, but it's so gorgeous. It was begun relatively, it's a relatively modern building. It was built, I think it was finished in 1909, if I'm not wrong, 1904. I'm sorry, I didn't come prepared, but one or the other. So it's fairly new. But the revolution came along and they had trouble. I think that interrupted its progress, along with money issues. But it's kind of important, I think, to tell you, this is not entirely stone on stone. It actually has a steel structure, a steel skeleton, so that is considered modern engineering. I gotta get away from this noise here. Bear with me a minute because I have something important to say. I want to tell you something. There is a depression in the ground here, and if you recall, Mexico City was built on the ancient lake of the Aztecs. This was the capital of the Aztec Empire. And at one time, when they came, it was a lake, and they created little islands out of this lake, little canals. When the Spanish came in, was it 1520 or so, they eventually vanquished the Aztecs, and all of this was removed. All of it was dumped into the water, and the water was drained away, but it left a muddy lake surface. So the substratus here is soft, which means that buildings like this have a tendency to sink. They're not stable. They're floating on this mud. Even though they have a deep foundation, they are not as stable as you might think, because it does not go down to bedrock. There is no bedrock for buildings like this. So what happens is they settle. And if I were to go back here to the street, you probably cannot see it, but if you walk in my direction, you'll feel the sudden kind of downturn. This building has brought with it the terrace. All of this terraza stone is sinking with it. But interesting thing is that some years back, I think they told me it had sunk 12 feet. And I will say this, I recall distinctly when I was here in 1975 that we walked up steps. We walked up a bunch of steps to get in this building. And look, there are 3 now. Well, for what it's worth, and I hope you don't hold me to this, but I'm pretty sure that they have seen in recent years that it has come back up. So a building down the street might sink and this one pops up. Is that weird or not? Well, anyway, over there. And I'm going to shut this off and head on down the street because I have something else to do. I shall see you soon. here I am on the 7th floor of the Sears department store, looking down on the Palace of Fine Arts. Is that amazing? Mountains in the background. ¿Dónde está la catedral metropolitana?
Hasta el Zócalo.
Oh,
Del lado
Zócalo.
izquierdo.
Unas 4 bloques.
5 calles.
Ok, gracias. Well, because of Christmas celebrations on the plaza here behind me, traffic is different and people are everywhere trying to avoid the cars, and so here I'll just show you what I mean. All of this normally would not be here, and this is kind of a bad time of day anyway, but over there is the presidential palace, and then here to my left,
No, está cerrada ya.
when I was here in 1975, that church to the right was sinking badly and was crooked. Well, it hasn't changed. It's still sinking to the right. We'll go across, I think, right here. There are no traffic signs. It's just sort of go at your own will. I really want to go into the church, and I don't know if I'm going to be blocked out or what, so let's just take a chance and see. My viewfinder screen has gone black, so now I'm at the mercy of guessing. Where is this? The Cathedral Metropolitano, the Metropolitan Cathedral, and I was trying to think, is it the largest in the Western Hemisphere? I cannot remember. Sí, estaba pensando que es la catedral más grande
De todo el mundo. Bueno, de toda América.
the Western Hemisphere.
De Metropolitan Cathedral.
Yeah, todo in the Western.
Ajá.
Yeah, I was thinking about the one in Guadalajara.
Ajá.
¿Es más grande? Pero
No.
parece que no.
No, esta es más grande.
La última vez que lo vi, hace 44 años,
Ajá.
estaba chueca esta
Todavía
iglesia.
sigue estando un poco inclinada, eso es debido a la...
Pero es igual de mis fotos.
Sí.
Posible
A partir de 1989 es cuando se le comienzan a hacer los trabajos de restauración.
Oh, ¿cuánto? ¿Qué año?
1989, 1989.
89. Okay, so he's saying that in 1989 they did some subterranean restoration to keep it from sinking further crooked. It's probably still going down.
All the city, all Mexico City, we have sinkings about 15 centimeters every year.
He says 15 centimeters of sinking for most of these old buildings. Now, I was thinking the Palacio de Bellas Artes está mucho más profundo que antes. Yo lo vi en 75.
Sí.
Y eran escalones.
Ajá. And now it's going down.
3. Gracias.
Sí, a usted.
Una foto de mi amigo. Gracias.
A usted bienvenido. Por Wolfo.
Now, I have not been in this church. I don't think. I'm going to try. My goal is the other one, and we'll just keep the camera running. We'll see if it's running when I get done. I cannot tell since it's gone dark. it's smaller than the other one. This is like a small compared to the other one. So we're going to hurry through because I'm kind of short on time. And I'll explain that later. Oh, look at the doors. Oh. It's wood all the way up. Jeez. Well, let's hurry over to the other side. You know, I use a variety of... I use this camera, my cell phone video, my cell phone still shots camera, and my cell phone live Facebook. So it's always a bit of a mystery, a puzzle until I get home. What actually do I have? Oh, look, there are weeds and trees growing up out of the cracks. Oh, that's kind of sad to see that. This is not the shrine to Guadalupe. That is north of us here a bit, quite a bit. Wow, look at this. I just love this church. Just so spectacular. And at night, it's like amber, covered in sort of a soft candlelight colored light. Let's go on inside. I am usually respectful. Take off my cap. Oh my gosh. This is in the tradition of European cathedrals where the altar and the choir are two separate areas, and there is sometimes a separate altar around the corner behind the chorus. Well, I'm going to make this semi-complete today because I can't take a lot of time. I will come back later and get a lot of pictures with my better camera, still shots. And for now, I'll just do my best to kind of float through here. The organ above us. Now, the young man outside told me that this is larger than the Templo Expiatorio in Guadalajara. I was thinking so, but I couldn't be sure. And also, he says this actually is the largest church in the Western Hemisphere. I don't know its age. I should have asked him. I am normally good with remembering that sort of thing, but it's been too long since I... Well, this says 1653. 1622. I don't know if that's just this part. Sometimes those signs are specific to a location, but look at this. You know, there's not a lot of gold, not a lot of filigree. You might say it's not Gothic in the French, English, Spanish, Italian sense, or Germany. So it doesn't have all of that fine detail, and yet it is massive as any of those. I can imagine this is very pretty at night. Lights here and there. I'm gonna go this way because it seems to be a touristy place. I wouldn't be so bold normally, but there are so many people. Well, that's the case always. It's not just Saturday. This is a destination for many tourists. And that's good because that means I can go into these places and not feel like I'm out of place. A lot of these little side chapels. Now there's another one of those signs, so that answers my question. Those little signs are specific to these memorial chapels. Steps leading up to the lectern. Here we are at the main retablo, reredos. Now realize the altar and the priest's position is behind me. Imagine how pretty it would be at night. Let me just spin around. Altar y retablo del Divino Salvador. That is a schematic of what is intended to represent the various parts of the church, of this altar. And the dome, the cupola, is in the middle. Isn't that interesting? In the middle. In Europe, I was always so impressed with, I should say in Spain, I was very impressed with the area with the pipe organ. Often the pipes are scattered around, you never know. It's always a surprise. But here it is towards the back. It's always usually in this second half of the church. And that makes this church typical. Let's just go here. Also typical is the woodwork, sometimes wrought iron in black. Pipe organ, pipes on both sides. What is unusual here is the raised area. That is not always the case. They have some sort of netting up there to keep birds from coming down. Also typical. But look at this floor. Oh, I need this in my kitchen. Is that agate marble? I don't know.